Good morning. Are we all in the house? This is old hat now. Yeah. In the back, in the back, in the back. Is everyone in? Okay. Again, good morning. It is a privilege and an honor to be here this morning in this building. I want to thank our partners at Wayne State University for hosting this event. My name is Marcia Pendleton, and I am on the board of directors of the Black Theater Network. And I was asked to introduce this event, and I don't want to start crying, and maybe I will. But Domonique Morisseau is someone who has become extremely important to me personally and professionally. There are a lot of things that you can say about her in terms of her work and her influence, and we saw that last night with our student quest monologue competition, and 3 of those monologues were from work by Domonique. She's a 2-time Tony nominee, a MacArthur Genius Grant recipient, BTN Presidential Trailblazer Award winner. She is a playwright and an educator and an activist. She is a warrior woman. I mean, really, she will go toe-to-toe with you in no uncertain terms. If you want to know who she is, what she is about, you will find it in her place. You will find that work in her place. I had the privilege of being part of the marketing team for Skeleton Crew on Broadway. And one of the craziest nights that we did was Detroit night. we had a blast. But one of the things that was important that Domonique always spoke about was the fact that we were doing theater in the time of a plague. And that people had to come to work and take their lives into their own hands to create theater, to do theater. And the audience was asked to do the same thing, you know. So that is the courage. Her words, she does not mince words. She is one of the most powerful people, I believe, on the face of this earth. I am so glad that she is doing what she is doing, to continue to tell our stories in the manner in which she tells the stories, the people that she gathers to tell the stories. And without anything else from me, and our amazing Michael Dinwiddie is going to be in conversation with her. This combination is old hat right now. They are used to doing this. But please welcome Domonique Morisseau and Michael Dinwiddie to engage us in conversation.
Thank you, Marcia. Ooh, thank you for the water. I appreciate that. So, first of all, my name is Michael Dinwiddie. Just dropped my phone. And I want to ask the audience to start us off. I have a question for you. It's a quiz. If you feel it, we're going to stop right now. is her name? Okay, I'm going to ask it this way. How many people think it's Domonique? Hands up. Let's see. Hands up. Domonique. Hands up. Don't be scared. You're not going to. Okay. Hands down. How many people think it's Domonique? The Dominiques win. Okay. Michael Eric Dyson got me straight the last time we did an interview. He kept, because I kept saying Domonique, Dominique kept saying Domonique, Domonique, Dominique. So everyone, one time, everybody, what is it? Okay, tell all your friends, you got to get it right when you're dealing with a MacArthur genius. You got to get it right. Okay, so, hi, Domonique.
Hello, Michael.
How's it feel to be home in Detroit?
Oh, feels cool.
Okay, good,
Yeah.
good. You know, we're both Detroiters. We both went to Cass Tech, and we both had the New York experience. So what I want us to do is talk a little bit about what our New York experience has trained us to become who we are. I want us to then make sure we have time at the end for people to ask us questions. So I'm going to start out by, I know Dr. John Foster is here, and I know you had an experience with Brooklyn Academy of Music, BAM. I'd like you to talk a little bit about how you went there and what that was for you, because this is Marvin Sims Teaching Institute, and so you were a teaching artist. I'd like you to give us a little background on that.
Oh, yeah, okay. Wow, okay. I was thinking about Creative Arts Team, but you've made me realize you're right. I work with Dr. Foster on the BAM. I can't remember what it was. What was the name of the thing? It was like a poetry, what was it called, Dr. Brooklyn Reads Poetry. Yes, that's what it was. And as teaching artists, you know, we go out, we teach about poetry, and then then they come see this, like, for me, is like the most epic poetry show I've ever been a part of or seen, which is what's the name of it? It's the BAM poet, what is it? Words Now Power, is that it? Right. I did the thing about Haiti.
So I'm going to repeat everything he just said because I want to make sure everybody hears
He's
it.
saying the year I was in, because I was in it twice, but one year I was in it like in 20, I don't know, 16 or something, I don't remember. It was longer than that. It was like 2013. I was in like 2011 or something, because there was the hurricane happened and the earthquake happened in Haiti. Yeah, I did Earthshake. Anyway, so there was a big, massive poetry explosion at BAM, and it's all like youth audience. I mean, it's massive. It was like Lollapalooza for like, I don't know. It was epic, right? Or it was like, I don't know, Freaknik. What's the name? Coachella for like for poetry and for young people in poetry. I'm like trying to think. I'm like Lollapalooza. That's way too old to be talking about right now. But and I performed. I'm Haitian as well, you know, Haitian Network of Detroit, shout out. But and the earthquake had just happened, so we did. I did a whole like big long piece talking about being Haitian American and the impact of the earthquake.
People don't know that they figured it out from your work, but you really started as a poet. You were a poet in New York at New Eurekan Cafe.
I was
doing performances down there with Rome Neal and people like that and all that stuff. So what caused the transition for you? What made you start writing theater?
You know, this is so funny. There is no transition. I talked about this to somebody else. I forget who was it. Yes, I remember. So we talked about. I don't believe I've ever I didn't transition from acting to playwriting. I didn't transition from a poet to a playwright. I am all those things. I ain't transitioned. I'm merged. I'm melding, right? You know, and so. This industry, as we talked about, right? This industry will sometimes tell you can only be this one thing. You got to focus on this thing, then you got to be this thing. You can't do this, you know. I'm all those things, and I truly believe that being an artist, I'm an artist, and I'm a storyteller. I'm gonna tell stories in all the ways that I can. I grew up dancing. My aunt was my aunt is Carol Morisseau. She's a visual artist, and and she's a visual artist, and she founded the Detroit Dance Center, which is where I grew up dancing. So my first bout to storytelling was actually through dance, you know, and choreography. And so anyway, I just say all that to say, poetry for me is in my plays, you know. I mean, I've never stopped being a poet, but I do move toward what moves toward me at the time, you know. I'm an actor. If actor jobs are coming toward me, if acting opportunities are coming to me, then I move toward it. Yes, I say if I vibe with it, if it speaks to my heart as an artist, then I do it. But if it doesn't, then I move toward the other thing. You know, if playwriting moves toward me, if opportunities, the people say, hey, could you write this play, or could you, we want to read this play that you wrote, then I move toward it, you know. But I don't, I never stop being the other thing. That doesn't make no sense, you know. I hate people call me, you used to be an actor. I ain't used to be nothing. I am everything that I've always been.
You're here.
You know, and so, yeah, and I just encourage everybody who is what they call multi-hyphenate, but I don't even call myself that. I'm just an artist, you know, because you can't compartmentalize it. I used to have this card when I first moved to New York. It was so many titles that it was like, stop. You know, it's like playwright, poet, actor, choreographer, director. It's like too many things, but I've done all those things.
Exactly, and you continue to do all those things.
Yeah.
So you're going to talk about creative arts team, CAT.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I want you to talk about is what you got out of CAT that you then took into your plays like Pipeline.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think the work that teaching artists do, whether it's at Creative Arts Team, whether it's at Brooklyn Academy of Music, being helmed by artists who are also educator-focused, for me, that's some of the most important work I've ever done in my whole life and will always be. And I say that all the time. I have had way more impact in a classroom than I ever had on a Broadway stage. And you can see it in the face. I mean, I'm just, you know, real talk. I just, you know, sometimes your work, the more your work gets produced as a black artist in particular, the less your work is going to be in front of black people. And there comes that time where you're just like, what the hell am I doing? Like, I'm not trying to, like, you know, be the tour guide to voyeurism. I'm trying to, like, you know, I'm trying to express something. I'm trying to impact change, and I'm particularly trying to impact it about the people I'm writing about. That's who I want to experience the work, and that's who I want to get in dialogue with about the issues inside the work. And you know, and everybody, and everybody else, but it's not going to be in the absence of the people I'm writing about. That don't make no sense,
right.
You know, to me. So teaching artists work for me has, I'm in dialogue with the people I'm trying to impact right there in their face, in the moment. And sometimes you have, I mean, you know, I'm not so addicted to instant gratification and instant, like, I like to see the instant change, you know, because that's a little bit, that gets a little obsessed with, like, transactional art. Like, I think we're a little obsessed with, like, I did something, I need to see the impact. I put something on social media, let me see my likes right now. How many people like this, you know? How many people are putting eyeballs on this shit, you know? And I didn't used to know that, and I was happier when I didn't, you know? So I feel like, for me, but you can sometimes get instant, you know, gratification or some kind of instant impact in the classroom. Mm-hmm. You see a kid's light bulb go off right in front of your face, you know. And the work that I did, I want to shout out LaVonda Elam, who's in the back right there. Raise your hand, LaVonda.
Hey, LaVonda.
She was one of my partners, one of my teaching partners for many years at Creative Arts Team. And we've been in the trenches together. She's a master educator. And we've been in the trenches together for so long, all 5 boroughs of New York City, and what they used to call the Dirty Dozen high schools, you know, which was like the high schools that Giuliani, that mother, you know, the high schools that he decided were the worst and the filthiest in the city. That was the ones we were in.
Right. Well, you know, when you talk about that again, I think about one of your plays. I think about Pipeline. And so I just wonder if you can talk a little bit about your experience as an educator, how you decided to shape that play so that an audience and a person participating and understanding it could see what you were talking about and what the struggles were.
Yeah, you know, when I started writing Pipeline, that was a commission by Steppenwolf Theater. And my first initial instinct was like, what do I want to write for their company of actors? And I was like, what issues were coming to mind? And this was during a time, you know, the thing that kind of was echoing for me was Mike Brown's mother, because I just kept remembering her saying, I just got him to graduate, you know? I just kept hearing her. That kind of like haunted me. And I was like, damn, she says it like it was a crossroads, you know? A rites of passage. We just got him to the other side of the thing that we were worried about. And then then this sucker punched us, you know? And I was like, dang, like what must that have been like for a mother raising a son and getting him across that barrier, and for, you know. And so then I started thinking of Michelle Alexander's book, The New Jim Crow. And, you know, she was talking about, I mean, if you're familiar with her book, but she's talking about mass incarceration being the new Jim Crow. And I also thought, well, I mean, education for me is the most segregated thing in this country, and the most inequitable part of this country. You know, that and housing, you know. And so, where you can like get that like good old racism, you know, like, right on your face. You know, the one, the Trump kind of racism, you know. And because there's all kinds, you know, they act like Trump is all there is. But I felt like in Pipeline, I wanted to explore the challenges of public education and private school education, because I've been in both schools. I've taught in both. And in the public school, you know, my director, Liliana Blaine Cruz, she phrased this better than me. She said, you know, there is the public school, we're talking about infrastructural failure. And in the private school, we're talking about cultural failure. And both of those can kill a kid. And, you know, they can definitely kill the soul, they kill the body, they kill the mind, the spirit, you know. And so for me, I wanted to look at those things. And when I started writing Pipeline, all of the education years that I spent at Creative Arts Team just came right to the forefront, you know. Like I look at that play and like I would not have been able to write it without Creative Arts Team, without the time I spent as a teaching art. Because I work for more than Creative Arts Team, but that was the place I spent the most substantial time in, and I just wouldn't have been able to write without all those years I spent teaching.
Well, what the play is about, people don't know, it's about a young man who, and I'm not gonna mansplain for you, okay? But I just want to make sure that people know Jelani is the character's name, and
Omari.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
See, why don't you talk about it?
I'm gonna talk about that. But I want to say that I appreciate the effort, brother.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm trying. I got to keep up with you, sister.
No, I appreciate you.
Thank you. I love you.
But Pipeline is about a young guy named Omari who's going to a private school. His mother, Naya, teaches at a public school. And it's what happened. The play is about what happens when he is accused of putting his hands on his teacher and is therefore threatened with expulsion and criminal charges. And his mother, the public school teacher, has to figure out how this happened, what she went wrong, and how to save him from the school-to-prison pipeline.
Right. And part of what you did in that, you talk about your experience working as a teaching artist, but that also had personal resonance for you. You had known of a situation of someone that happened to, and I'm just wondering how that impacted your work on that piece.
Yeah, it happened here in Detroit at Cass, you know. It was in the news, so I'm not saying anything, you know. But it happened where, you know, a young brother went to school and had a bad day, and when the security guard tried to stop him, put his hands on him, he body slammed him. And it went viral, you know, because the kids had it on, they recorded it. And I knew him. I knew him since he was a little boy. He probably don't even know that I knew him that long, you know, if he knows I know him at all. But I know his family, my best friend's family. And so, and I remember how upset she was when it happened. But what she was really upset about was what the people were saying about him online. Monster, you know, beat his ass, you know, send him to jail. He was on a football scholarship, take his scholarship away, you know. And it looked bad. I mean, I looked at the film, I was like, oh, this looks bad, you know. But I was like, say beat his ass, you gonna guarantee that he don't never change what's happening, right? I say, you know, send him to jail, take a scholarship away. If you want to ensure that this remains the rest of his life, then do all of those things that you're offering, you know. But what they don't know is who he is and what he comes from, and I do. And I knew what kind of day he had before that day he got to that school. And if you say beat his ass, you don't know how many ass whoopings his brother already took in his life, you know. Nobody's going to body slam you unless they've been body slammed by life by themselves a lot. And so it just shifted a lot of things for me. And he's been, you know, he's turned the whole 180, and, you know, the city got really behind him because black men stepped up and became, you know, role models to him, and people wanted to give him another chance, but it took a while. And but what made me realize, you know, my mother works in education. We know kids that have bad days all the time, and if you judge them on that bad day, if you're not seeing somebody's totality as a human being, if you're only seeing them as the thing that day, you know, you're never going to have mercy, or they're never going to get grace. And, you know, we already know this because we don't watch these shooters get all the grace that a kid walking down the street don't get, you know? Mm-hmm. We don't watch these mass shooters get taken away by these cops like they are just little kids at a playground, you know, luring them with some candy, you know? And you're like, huh? You know, take them to Burger King, give them some snacks, put them in protective spaces so they don't get hurt, you know? And we're like, what? You know, but, and I have a son, and I'm like, I have a son, I can tell already, he's already not going to like your authority. He don't like my authority. But I was a kid that did not like authority, so I understand my son, but I am very worried. If I don't, like, teach him how to be strategic with that defiance, I'm worried.
We all talk about that and think about that. One of the things that I find really powerful about your work is you do the research, you do the work, but then there's the personal aspect that really drives the story. And that's what you're talking about, being a storyteller. I mean, the fact that your mother's a teacher for so many years also gave you a background in how to approach education and how to approach education. And so in some ways, your plays, even though your plays are not like didactic or anything like that, but they have an element of humanity where I can think about how I want to be as a person in the world. And so I'm thinking about Confederates, I'm thinking about your whole Detroit trilogy. And I guess my next question is, you are a true native Detroiter, born in Detroit, raised in Detroit, had to go into exile into New York, as many of us had to.
No one's ever put it like that, Michael.
Okay, well, okay.
That's interesting.
But you're doing things now in Detroit. I want you to talk a little bit about what your vision is for what you're going to be creating in this city as you go forward. You and your amazing husband, whose name I will not say because I'll probably get it wrong.
Jimmy Keys,
Yes,
Jay
you.
Keys, that's my husband,
Yes.
hip-hop artist.
Let's talk about what you're gonna do, what you're doing here in the city.
Jimmy and I bought a property here in Detroit, right up the street from Motown Museum, and we're right up the street from my aunt's house, actually. But we're rehabbing it, and we're turning it into an artist residency space. So, yeah, thank you. Our big dream is we want to give a house to Detroit artists, and we want to bring artists to Detroit to work with Detroit artists. You know, I believe that everybody has to change where, you know, you have to engage with the rest of the world, and also the rest of the world has to engage with you. Like, it has to be both, you know, like you have to get off the block and you have to come back to the block. I mean, it's both of those things, and so that's what we want to do. I want to bring my friends and people, you know, out here in the world doing stuff, which is everybody in this room, and say, come spend some time at the house, you know. And I also just want to have a house where I could do what the fuck I want to do, and no one tells me no, you know. It's ours. If I want to, you know, put some weird thing together, if I want to shoot a film, if I want to whatever, I could do it at this house. If you want to record your podcast, we'll have a studio. You could do it at the house. You know, you could do things at the house, and that's what we want.
You know, that's part of what we grew up with in Detroit was this idea of limitless possibility. You can do whatever you want to. When I was in high school, I might lose my job for this, but on my journal it says creativity is intercourse with life.
Yes.
Because, you know, when you're in 10th grade, that's all you think about is life. And
Right. It's life, not the other word.
Right. And so I just want you to talk about a little bit, one of the things I think of that's really incredible. I mean, Domonique, I said it right? Domonique, you're in the public eye in a way that is really amazing and empowering, but also it has to take a lot of your energy. You know, that people are constantly coming in wanting you to do things. You have a child now. How do you balance work, life, career, all these? I know I'm asking the question. I don't know that. But I'm wondering, what do you try to do?
No.
What do you do?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know that I have it in balance. I think I am forever and constantly trying to find the balance. And I'm also trying to be patient with myself and forgive myself when I don't find the balance, you know, because I don't find it more than I do. You know, even in this conference, I'm like, I had to run home like, my child, he's becoming a daddy's boy, you know. Well, he was already doing that. That has nothing to do with this parents. But but I'm like, but because of that, I'm like, no, well, remember your mom. I'm still your friend, you know. But but he prefers his dad right now. That wasn't always how it was. I don't know. But I'm just, I go, I hope he one day thinks, I hope he knows, the day of the key to the city. I was like, oh, that was a long day. I was not around him a lot that day. And my husband was like, it's cool. He's going to look back on this one day. And I'm like, he doesn't care. He's not going to care at all about this one day, But I every time I kind of do stuff, I go, will he know that this was worth it? Will he feel that way? On the opening night of Skeleton Crew, I was traumatized because we made a bad choice to take him to the theater that night. It was a bad choice. It was a horrible choice. And we stood outside the theater like, here, we're going to take a picture with you, and then we're going to send you in the car with the babysitter. We're going to go in without you. And we put him back in that cab, and he grabbed me by my nice little cute dress collar, He grabbed me by my collar. It was like, let me go. And I was traumatized. I had to snatch away and close the door really fast and run into the, I was like, this is terrible. I'm a horrible mother. I'm a horrible human being. And it was on my mind for half my play. I was like, oh my God, I can't even enjoy this.
So you're still working on the balance.
I don't have no balance. I'm zero balance. But I will say this: the work life, personal life thing. If I don't have people in my life that really are behind the art part of the life, it's not going. It's just they don't see the light in it, then they're not going to offer me anything, and I can't. I either will fizzle out from the art, or I will have to find people that know what this means and can support it.
Well, I know that one of the things I thought was really amazing about Skeleton Crew that, your husband did the music for it. He created the music. Jimmy did the music for it, and he did industrial sounds. He created the sounds of Detroit. If people have seen the show, and when you see it, you'll see that it really sounds like a factory, but it's filtered in a way where it goes with the story. Yeah. And so I know that you have a team that works with you. I mean, we talked about working with Ruben Santiago Hudson and what that means for you.
Let me just also say, Jimmy, my husband, did the composing for Skeleton Crew, and he did the sound design for Confederates. Yes. So the whole 5.5 months that we were in New York, we and him were both running out to rehearsals every day. That helped, but also,
well, if you want to see Domonique and her husband in action,
don't start.
You can go on YouTube, and when they got married at the Museum of African American History, they performed an amazing choreographed, I want to say 20-minute dance. I know that's...
It was 9 minutes.
Okay, it was... So if you want to really get a picture of what married life is like with Domonique and Jimmy, you can watch that dance and just enjoy it. And I just have to say that because people are, it's so wonderful and rich that, number one, you got married at the museum. So that shows your love of Detroit.
And in the theater. We got married on the theater.
Yeah, exactly, on the stage, which is appropriate. But then also that you would create something to share with people, and then you put it out there like that. So
I didn't put it out. My cousin put that video out. I didn't want that thing to go. I didn't know what was happening. We were in Jamaica when that thing went viral. We didn't even have internet access. You know what I'm saying? We looked back one day on vacation and were like, let's just pay for internet today and see what's going on. And what? As soon as we signed on, I was like, Domonique Morisseau and Jimmy Keys wedding dance, on Yahoo News. And we were like, what the hell's going on?
Well, every time we do an interview, I make people aware of that because I want you to know that you go see Domonique's work, and it's so Detroit 67, it's so powerful, it's so beautiful. But then you also get to have a sense of her humor, her joy, and how much she just enjoys having a good time, basically. That's the way to say it. So I think we've talked enough. Don't you think we should let people have a chance to ask questions if they want to? Yes, there's one right here. And I'm going to repeat the questions if people can't hear them. Yes.
That's a great question.
Did everyone hear the question? Okay, good. Go
Y'all heard. Okay. Well, I'll repeat it back to you. The way that I can study, the way that I develop character is not all through lived experience. So the ways that I like gather character, is through the same ways that actors do it, because I'm also an actor. I observe, people watch a lot and listen, ear hustle, but like I don't think you can always get the accurate, you can not necessarily get full accuracy from ear hustling, right? It just gives you the first peek of something. But people I really need to know fully about, I gotta talk to them. I gotta be able to talk to people. But, I watch a lot of documentaries to get a sense of things. I listen to a lot of music. Like if I'm writing about a particular era, I'm gonna listen to all the music of that era. Music gives clues a lot about how, especially music that has like lyrics and language, because it tells you what the dialogue and the dialect is at the time, like what phrases were being used, how the people, and it's not something like I study, like, oh, it sounds like they say this, or honey, or, they call a girl bae, or, but it's like, it just seeps into you. Like, if I just listen to it while I'm moving around, while I'm cooking or something, like I be cooking. But, I'm not trying to be a fraud right now. I rarely cook. It's like every now and again. But whatever it is, I just, I let it seep into me, so it doesn't, and I also want to say something about research as a playwright, because I think we can get a little bit like, you must do your research. And sure, you should, research sounds very like textbook and sit in a library. Research is a lot of things. It's like taking in the world around you. You know what I mean? The best research I have, like I go to a museum. When I was writing about the auto industry here, I went to the Ford Museum. I was like watching a story I wanted to write in 3D. I was like, oh, these are the cars. Oh, when I write Paradise Blue, I've been to the historical museum. Used to be one of my favorite museums growing up. They have like the streets of old Detroit. You could just like walk through. Remember, like you're walking through a play set. Like you're like, oh, this is what it feels like. I start imagining. I used to go to antique shops. And just like look at stuff. Like you find inspiration. From places. And then like when I was working on Pipeline, I started. I do read books and things like that around the subject, but I also, I watched a documentary called Chicagoland, which was about the education system in Chicago, and I was like, this is what I want to say to Chicago, and anyway, so it's just like different stuff. It doesn't always have to be like, I had to find 10, I probably ain't finding 10 people to talk to about anything, because that's too many people. They'll mess my mind up. Like at one point, I remember, like the Temptations musical, I've been asked this 100 times. So I'll debunk it here. How many Temptations won? I talked to Otis. That's the only person I talked to. And I read, did you talk to the Funk Brothers? No, but I have much respect for the Funk Brothers, but I wasn't writing the Funk Brothers story, I was writing Otis's story. I talked to Otis. I read Otis's book. I talked to Otis's manager, Shelley Berger. They have their memories from the time, but I'm taking Otis's memory because that's what I'm centering the play on him, and his memory of his brothers. It's not going to be their memory of these people, right? It's Otis's memory of those people. So, like, you might know everybody, in Detroit in particular, but, like, I knew Paul. I'm sure you did, and I'm sure this version of Paul could or could not line up with your version, But I stand by, I can't get too many people in my head. I'm serving too many gods, I have to like be very clear about the lens that I'm putting on a story, and I just trust how it came through me. Man, I'm a stand-up. I got to be courageous a little bit as a storyteller to say I do my research, but I probably will never do the amount of research that everybody thinks I should do, because then they would have I'm doing Soul Train, the musical right now. You know how many Soul Train dancers don't reach out? I'm not talking to all of them, But I'm gonna have to, but I am talking to Tony Cornelius, Don's son. Like I have to just streamline a little bit. Yeah, I just want to say that, because you can get overwhelmed. And it's like no need to get overwhelmed. You trust the source. Find your one thing or your three things of inspiration. Yeah. Yeah. It's like a whole gumbo.
Thank you so much. That was an absolutely awesome, spot on. So you said two things earlier that really struck me. You said you both have to leave the block and return to the block. And then you also said that the more produced you are as a Black playwright, the less impact you have on the people you really want to reach. And so that brings me to my first part of my sort of two-part question, which is, were you part of the We See You White American Theater movement?
I was a signatory on We See You. Yeah, I signed
And
the big letter, drop, the demands.
Right.
Yeah, I amplified all of that.
And so, do you have an opinion and or a sense of where that sort of, I'm putting movement in large air quotes, where that is now? Does that require a continuation? The 7 plays in 2021, did they think, oh wow, we don't really need that letter or that response anymore?
No.
So that's my question.
I don't think so. And I don't know everybody. I don't know all of the signatories on this, but I do know a lot of the people that signed it, and I know a lot of people that amplified it or participated in some kind of way, and I don't believe any of them.
Could you explain for particularly the young people who really won't know
about what we
what
see
it was?
White American Theater? Yeah, sure. It was a letter drop. Wow, I felt louder than I was before. Does this help you guys? Is this better? Oh my God, I'm sorry I didn't give you this earlier. But it was a letter drop that happened and a movement, I think, that formed from it. I don't know that it was trying to be a movement. I don't know. But that 300 of us originally signed, but then like 100,000 additional people signed. So to me, it's like 100 and whatever, even more now. I think maybe 150. I don't know. And it was about basically calling out white American theater and its treatment of folks of color. And what I want to say something about is it was a BIPOC movement, and that you can call it BIPOC or you can call it people of the BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, people of color, which I feel like is sort of like leaves a lot of specificity out. But then how you gonna be? What one word is gonna capture every goddamn people out here? But then there's people of the global majority, which is another phrase that we like. So PGM. But it was a movement that was sort of trying to be expansive around all those people. Basically, everybody that's now non-white in our field to hold it accountable for its treatment of all those people in all various aspects and layers of the field, and beyond, because there's a lot of movements. I have been an amplifier basically of all of them. There's Broadway Advocacy Coalition, Broadway for Racial Justice, Black Theater United, and there's like so many more that I'm not naming. But I have engaged with or been a part of or participated in or amplified pretty much all of them, or been in conversation with, and some of them are Broadway focused. Some of them are this and that. But I think the main thing is the questions and the demands that are being made of our field, whether they're polite demands or impolite. I'm somebody who, there was a lot of feeling around people dropping demands. I'm like, what you supposed to be polite when you ask being treated right? I don't even, I don't come from that obedience school. I come from I believe in my right to take up space. I'm not asking for permission for that, but there was a call for many things to happen in the theater. I mean, a list of 30, I don't know, it's a very, very extensive document that was made by so many people in the field. And I will say this, I know that many theaters, including Detroit Public Theater, has been reckoning, and Signature Theater, because I'm on the board there, they have like weekly meetings to go through those demands. So I will say that they have, I'm talking about, I have friends that are at, artistic leaders at different institutions. Their theaters are going through trying to make a game plan, and it's not, I don't think any of it is going to happen as fast as any of us would want it to, but I can tell you some part of the work is being done, and I also feel like it's not, I feel like people are going back to business as usual. Once they feel called out and they have panic reactions, but then when, things start coming back, they start easing up and calming down, and it's not. And so I do think we have to ask ourselves, what do we want from these people? Yeah.
I want to kind of talk about that as well, just a little bit, because what's been fascinating, I was on a panel with Linda Armstrong, Broadway Con, in which we had numbers, BTU, all the different organizations. And one of the most interesting things that came up was, and we connected and realized that Black Theater Network has been doing that work for 36 years. And part of what we have to do is coalesce with each other, because different aspects of it are being done in different places, but there's never been an organized, ongoing notion of how to go forward with that. You know, we have organizations that are partnering and working with us. So I think that the awareness has come, and now it's like there are the steps that are happening. So for instance, an internship program is very nice, but if it doesn't lead to a job, then it was just a one-year internship program. So let's really get to a place where we are really thinking about sustainability in moving forward in the business. What does it really mean? So I just wanted to say that. I wanted to say BTN, all the issues that we talked about, and I love it, the educational aspect, the fact that we're talking about all these different things, and part of what Black Theater Network is starting to do is to be made visible by the success of people who have worked with us. In 1992, when we were in Detroit, I love saying this, in 1992, the keynote was given by a guy named August Wilson for the Black Theater Network. So there's been a vision, and now we just have to make sure that we expand it, and we have to make sure that we grow with that vision as well. Thank you.
Hi. I just want to, I don't have a question. I just want to thank you for everything, and particularly for your notes to the audience, particularly for your note to the audience around the production pipeline. I used to run an organization called Vibe Theater Experience, and we worked with Black girls, young women, and gender expansive youth to create original art. And as a part of my leadership, I wanted to take them to the theater all the time. And this is in Brooklyn, New York, the belly of the beast. And we would get offered free tickets to things, and I'd show up with my girls, and it would be the opposite of a good experience because they'd be policed around their behavior. They get shushed when they want to snap because they were moved by something. And they would be made to feel uncomfortable. This very, theater companies, which I will not name, who would give us these free tickets, would then police the folks. And so we went to see Pipeline at Lincoln Center Theater, and my girls read your letter, your love letter, encouraging them to be their full selves, to take up space, to snap if they felt like it, to if they felt like it. And it was a lifeline to them, and they did it. They snapped, and they and they read your letter. And at the talk back, they were admonished for being distracting. I wrote about this on Twitter, and they were like, but wait a minute, Domonique said in the letter, y'all read the letter? We were encouraged, and they're like, oh, well, but that was still inappropriate. But they're like, no, we got receipts. And it was the first time that they had something to clap back with. It wasn't the first time they'd been shushed, police, told that they were being inappropriate. Some of my girls were like, don't ever bring me to the theater again. I want to make it, but I don't want to go. What? And I couldn't have it. And so I think that your letter was a step in the right direction. And I'm doing something else now, but I've been to shows where there are similar letters to the audience, encouraging them to be their full selves. And I think it's really important, and if we are serious about young people and holding space and encouraging them to be their full authentic selves, then we have to change some of the culture of respectability that is present in theater. Thank you.
I wanted to identify, that's Toya Lillard. And Toya, will you tell us where you are now? 651 Arts in Brooklyn. Okay, is there another question?
I'll just say something real quick to that before the mic is going over there, which is just that, now it's less of I think you got to take the times that we're in and keep moving it forward, right? And keep grabbing back to the stuff that we can stand on, because that was a fight. It wasn't a big fight at Lincoln Center. They didn't really fight me on that until there was pushback. And then they tried, I said, listen, I'm about to bring young people. I made a promise to my cast because they didn't want to do that play, and they were picturing doing that play in front of Lincoln Center's full white audience. And I was like, then I won't make it a full white audience. And they're like, how? And I'm like, I went down on the second night, and on the second preview, and stood before the audience and said, if anybody feels like they want to support young people coming to the show, meet me upstairs. And then I ran upstairs to my husband and to Story Ayers, who was with me, and I go, y'all, I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know. I don't have nothing. I'm not prepared. I just said something in front of all these people, and I need something. Like, how would I take all their information? And Story grabbed a notebook and pen, and Jimmy went upstairs, and, and we took all their information, and then I had all these emails of people who said, yeah, I want to contribute if you're going to do something, right? It was Lincoln Center patrons as well, And then I told Lincoln Center, hey, look, I got all these names. I can start an Indiegogo, but like, do you have an education program? Can y'all do something with this? And they said, yeah, we'll take it. And so they did, and they created a matching grant, a matching donation grant with it, and we raised enough money to have like 500 free New York City teenagers. Not students, because this was summertime, so it was like a teenager could come to the show, be like, hey, I'm a teenager, I want to see a show, and they'd be like, oh, here you go, here's a free ticket, right? And we did that, and that Lincoln Center for a minute looked like a New York City subway. I'm just saying that because it was, in my intention in that time was like, we got to disrupt white spaces, right? Like, we can't go into these white spaces and have them leave our culture at the door, You're not putting my play on the stage and making me leave every other part of me out there, And that is a way to disrupt. That's one way. I want to say there's 100 ways to move, and I don't like people telling people there's one. There's not one. You can move however you want to move. You can move like this and then figure it out, you're tired of that and move like that later, You don't have to be like, I have to have this one way that I do things forever. But I will say, I am, I brought my disruption into white spaces quite a bit. I'm a little bored, I'm like, okay, I'm tired of disrupting white spaces. Like, what else? While I can be disrupting white spaces and building black spaces. It doesn't have to be one or the other. I am always trying to build black spaces. I will always give my plays to black theaters in this room that have reached out to me. And then, my agent, he already knows the deal by now. But, he'll call me and go, well, the Guthrie, but also the Penumbra. And I go, which one? Now, they'll be in the past. I go, but you can make more money at the Guthrie. I go, if it's the Guthrie or the Penumbra, which one am I going with, sir? And that's it, Unless the only way I get in trouble is if they've already promised it to somebody, that I'm not always on, I don't know everybody that is getting, making bids on my plays, right? But if I find out, many people in here have DM'd me and go, hey, I'm trying to get the rights. I go, okay, I'll just send this note to my agent. Now, and try to help black theaters get the rights to my shows. That's just something that I focus on. I'm not saying everybody else does that, But, you can disrupt, you can build, you can do kind of all the things. You're multifaceted, multi-hyphenate. Yeah.
Ms. Morisseau, just number one, congratulations on all your successes, but most importantly on the impact you're having, the difference you're making, because I think that's why we're here on the earth, to leave it a little better place for having been here. So thank you for all you're doing in that respect. There are a few playwrights, dramatists, storytellers. I wonder if you could take a few moments to talk about your writing process, your writing discipline, how you manage to keep the floodgates open so that the muse will visit and not depart.
Hey, that's really a great question that I'm going to have a terrible answer to, but because I'm going to say I'm probably one of the most disciplined artists, which is that I don't have I get up at 5 a.m. every day, and I do know that don't work in my life, What I do is I'm writing up here long before I'm writing here, I'm writing up here. To me, the writing process for me is once I got enough information in my brain that I feel ready to go here, that's when I start writing. And that means I'm taking in things, like I said before, with documentary style, or I'm visiting places. I'm just letting it just sit here for a little while, because it's fun to me to oh, I think I want to write about, because I get the idea. I want to write about this, and it's kind of macro a lot of times. I want to write about the school-to-prison pipeline. That's really large. What the hell does that look like, You cannot write about that. That's not a play, That's a book, and people are writing that book. But then I go, but what do I see this? So if I think about that, then who do I want to tell that story on, When it was a Skeleton Crew, it was I want to write about a factory, because I want to see a factory on stage. It started with set for me, I want to see a factory on stage, and I want to feel the presence of it all the time. Who do I want to tell that story with? My aunt works in the factory. Oh, she's a good character, It's not about her. And then, I seen these brothers every day, and they kind of, they got a little bit, one foot out the street, but they working men. I'm interested in those kind of guys. I just start thinking who I'm interested in and who I haven't seen on stage. And it just starts going from big to smaller to smaller to smaller to like, okay, it's four. It's like, oh, it's these three and against this one. And then I started thinking about so much. I started, like I got emotional one time. I thought, and I don't know if whoever's read Skeleton Crew, but I thought that there was this moment I was riding the subway and I was like thinking about Dez and Shanita and Faye, And there's a moment where I thought Dez was going to die. And I was like, I gasped from my own thinking on train. I was like, no. I got emotional or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, that's so terrible. I'm going to kill him. Oh, my God, it's so terrible, My father thinks I kill everybody in all my stories, And so I was like, I'm not going to kill him. He's not going to, I didn't know I wasn't going to kill him, so I started writing. But I was like, oh, he doesn't have to die? That's not even what this is about, But I just knew a gun was going to come into play, and I had that philosophy, you don't bring a gun on stage and it goes off, And then I realized, it goes off a whole another kind of way in this story, So that, but it was those kind of, I just go from here to start thinking about them. Who? It's the people. And once I know, I've said this before, but once I know what somebody's willing to fight or die for, then I'm ready to write, I go, okay, it's like, it's this person. It's going to be a mother or it's going to be a sister and a brother, and they're going to be running an after-hours joint, because I heard about these after-hours joints in Detroit. I want to see a Detroit basement on the stage. That's how that started, And I was like, oh, man. But when I figured out as a sister and a brother, they're going to be, they're going to have opposite points of view on the riots and on their house, But, like, as soon as I figure out, like, what they want, with Skeleton Crew, I was like, it's going to be 3 and it's going to be 1 on the other side of the line. He's not going to tell them what's going on at the job. Okay, I know what's going on now, And that it's like I got to know a conflict before I write. Because if you could just be writing great scenes and you get stuck. Because I don't know I love that conversation, but what in the hell is it? Structure is the worst part of writing. For me, I hate structure, But I also feel really good when I figured out a good structure. But I'm like, what do they want? I don't know, but I really like these words that I just wrote, But I don't have a clue where this is going, So that's why I stopped doing it here, I started doing it up here for a little while, and I could feel it emotionally. Once I know, like, I care about Dez enough to not want him to die before I even started writing the play. So now I know I'm going to write him with the most compassion that I have,
Can I answer? Mine's just a comment. It's not a question, but thank you so much for Pipeline, because that was the first time I saw my family in a play. My brother is Omari. He got kicked out of the worst schools in Philadelphia, went to the jail school, went to the suburban school, and I remember the way my mom cried when he graduated. And I remember my mom was a government worker, but she took every Friday off to sit in his classroom to make sure he was acting right. And I saw my mother, I saw my brother, and that play, it touched me. So I just wanted to say thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your true story around it. Thank you. We got time for 2 more. He said, yeah, 2 questions.
One thing, you are so loving and generous, and I want to thank you. Yeah, you are too. And you do a lot. You advocate for a lot of people, a lot of artists. Where do you go? What do you do to take care of you? Who takes care of you?
Thank you for that question, Marcia. I struggle with that a lot. I'll be very honest. That's the place I struggle with in my life. And so one of the things I do take care of myself is I leave social media for a while. I haven't posted, and I leave. I go away because it the demand can happen on you there. But also I don't just leave social media. I try to leave. I am getting to a place where I will tell somebody you can't talk to me for like a month. I'm out. And then my agent will go, what, a month? I'm like, well, wait a minute, these 10 people want to, you have deadlines. And I'm like, they ain't going to get mad. So they can fire me or they can wait. And I'm okay with either. I'm okay. I'm okay with losing, I think, now. I don't work real hard in my life. If you can't wait or rock with me, then that's fine. It's your loss, and I'm going to keep on doing what I have to do. But I got to take care. My family comes first. I got to take care of them. And then I have to go. I have to unplug and restore. You know, I want to say that that's a good question, too, because people in the activism space often, you know, I've asked them, when we were doing Confederates, for instance, we were talking about activism, and I asked young people, what does taking care of yourself look like? And they say, you know, just like staying away from black trauma and art and wanting to laugh and watch comedy and, like, just eat, you know, ice cream and chill and, like, veg out. And I was like, I want to be careful. I'm not, you should take care of yourself and you should have fun. But be careful. Be careful with being obsessed with comfort, because that's not the same thing, right? And being obsessed with being comfortable is going to allow you to never do anything extraordinary or to shake up this world, right? You know? And so self-care is actually not detachment, it's work, you know? So it's not completely just vegging out and, like, tuning out and staying away from the hard things and the hurtful things. It's actually self-work. Real self-care is protecting that spirit, is doing the work, is facing yourself. I'll just say that, it's facing yourself. And facing yourself is the hardest fucking work on the planet. I run from myself in a play in a minute, you know? But and so what I'm starting to do to take care of myself is center myself spiritually, close the door and not shut off, close the door and not lay in the bed for 5 days, close the door and now focus on nature for 5 days and center myself spiritually. I'm just trying to center myself because, you know, the world will knock you around. There's a lot going on in the world. It can knock you all the way down. And I have to find ways to restore and get back up. So thank you for asking that question. I would just want to put that out there to everybody else. And I'm like, you know, black trauma, like I hate that phrase. That's not my favorite phrase. But because I feel like it oppresses black artists, you know. What if not the art? Where the hell are we supposed to put this pain? You know, where the hell are we supposed to put? You want me to tell the person that was hurt? I don't want to hear your trauma story. It's like, what? They're trying to liberate their pain. I will bear your pain with you as long as you can get to the other side of that pain. Don't leave me stuck in the pain, because now you're traumatizing me. But if you're using your art to free yourself, I'm going to go on the freedom ride with you. And so I don't, you know, and I just want to make that clear, because there's a difference between black trauma storytelling and black liberation storytelling. But both of them have pain, so you can't escape the pain, you know. But you don't we become real monolithic, and real narrow if we are just joy. There is no joy without pain. That's the yin and the yang of life. And so I guess I'm just saying I want to make space for our total humanity, and that means engaging with myself as much as I engage with my art, and, like, checking on me as much as I check on the stuff. So sorry, I hope that answered somebody's question down. We got two, because I want to get to these two. Can we please get
Hi, and that leads into beautifully my question, because hi, I'm Kelly Crump. Hello. Fangirl, awesome. A lot of, not even a lot, the majority of your work, you know, surrounds heavy topics, themes, issues. How do you do it where it doesn't come across as trauma porn that leaves us depressed and sad at the end, but instead inspired and liberated, where others don't do that? How do you find that turn, that line, that moment to inspire us to liberation?
I think that's a really excellent question. And friends of mine, we've been talking about this all week, actually, you know, because I think the ingredient, I don't know. I'm not going to say I know the answer to that question, but I interrogate that a lot, and I think I want to interrogate that. Like, how do we get to the other side? I believe in hope, so that every story I write has hope in it. You know, I believe in hope because I haven't given up on my people. You know, like I said even yesterday at the luncheon, you know, I mean, sure, I could have made that story about them, you know, brothers on my block. I could tell you a really sad version of it, you know, but I also believe, I'm also like, people are not one thing. That's one of my favorite lines from a movie I saw. But, like, people are not one thing, you know. They're terrible and they're amazing. That's what I see in people. We're horrible and awesome, you know. The same person kicked this person's ass, like, healed that person, you know. And so it's like, what do you know, how do you see people in their fullness? And if I, as an artist, can practice trying to see everybody in their fullness, then maybe I can inspire other people to see people in their fullness. That's my hope, right? You know? And so I think you can get to the pain, but I don't I don't sit in pain. I trust myself. I've bouted with depression like everybody that I know. But you know, when I have bouts with depression, I trust myself. I'm like, you know how you're gonna get through this because you've been here before, you know? I trust me to find a way out, you know? And so I trust my people to find a way out of their own, you know, depression and hurt. And I know some of that is joy and laughter and humor. And I just find the shit we do every day really funny and, you know, gallows humor. I hate when a white person, I feel like Nikki Giovanni had the thing, Nikki Rosa is her poem. And she talks about, and I'm gonna mess it up because it's one of my favorite things, but she says, I hope a white person never has cause to write about me. Because essentially she's saying they will see all of this sadness and this darkness and not realize that all the while, you know, I had an amazing childhood. You know, like all the while I was awesome. And so I feel like that's my version. Like I can tell you a bunch of horrible stories, but I had so much fun. You know, I love my upbringing and I love my life because I'm not gonna give up on us or on me. And I think that's the turn of the trauma. It doesn't have, trauma is a pain with no escape and no end and no love. But love will conquer the trauma.
You know, you made me think when you talked about Nikki Giovanni, of the line, you know, I can fly like a bird in the sky. We are all connected with those brothers and sisters on the block that we're all learning from and writing and having to embrace. And I want to thank you, Domonique, for telling their stories and telling your story and spending this time with us. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Is everybody taking off already? Hey, folks, hold up just a little bit. We have one more final couple of remarks over here. So, here, do you want to say them, or do you want to just go ahead? Do you want me to just go ahead? Or? Okay. Hey, thank you, folks, for joining us this weekend. I'm Hassan Elahi. I'm the new dean of the college here at Fine Performing and Communication Arts at Wayne State. So I have the privilege of, I just joined here. I just joined about a month ago, so this is the first event that we're having that I have the privilege of hosting you. So thank you so much for coming to Wayne State, and thank you for spending the time with us and bringing your ideas and bringing yourselves here, because this is really important for us. So, you know, as a dedicated space for the preservation and the exploration of theatrical visions of the diaspora, Black Theater Network has been the leading, really has transformed theaters and universities and for decades, 36 years. And especially, this is particularly important for us here at Wayne State, particularly for the city we are in, particularly the community we serve. So this is something that we truly believe in the partnership that's happening. So, you know, master classes here with luminaries like Kathy Perkins and Domonique Morisseau here. This is what continues to help nurture the growth of Black theater professionally and in higher education. So this morning, I'd like to recognize Kay Zahira Sultan for her leadership as the current president of Black Theater Network. Okay, so Zahira is an artist, entrepreneur, activist, and with an incredible range of leadership experiences that weave the arts and philanthropy with community involvement and community development. Zahira is also a Wayne State alumni, and we are absolutely delighted to have her here. Zahira, we celebrate you for all that you've done and to bring us and bring our communities together and our two organizations together. And I really look forward to some future collaborations with you. Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you so much, everyone. It's just been super joyful, incredibly joyful. Domonique, always just soaring artistry. thank you for your words. Thank you for your wisdom, for your direction, and for your huge inspiration. And, I think everyone now is moving towards buses. Is that right?
Yes, the buses are loading. I just have to say something. I am so honored to be here at Wayne State University, so thank you. Now, nobody ever told me that I was too quiet and nobody couldn't hear me. So I am honored to be here at Wayne State University, the school that I love. Every time I see Old Main, just butterflies just go through my body. It's so nostalgic because of the work that is done here in Detroit, Michigan, and at Wayne State. So thank you very much. Now, if we could all get on the bus.
So once you get on the bus, there will be workshops starting at 1 o'clock. So you can start going up there, and then there's more to come over at the hotel. Thank you so much. Tonight will be the A&T will be performing their show back here. So you'll be coming back here tonight. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful afternoon.